It's that time of the week again. Me and Oscar are here to talk about some fights. And we had some interesting fights this weekend. Jiří Procházka put on an absolute crazy knockout against Dominic Reyes on the weekend. And me and Oscar are here to talk about the fights, the events that were happened. So, Oscar, how's it going over there in America?
It's going excellent. Jiří Procházka is an animal. That guy is so scary. And he has a style that will give a lot of adversity to a lot of those guys in the light heavyweight division. Did you think his knockout was knockout of the year worthy?
I mean, when you've got knockouts like Cory Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar, it's really hard to compete with. But, you know, he definitely put his name out there. But I think Cory Sandhagen's knockout versus a guy like Edgar, how durable Edgar has been in his career, and to put his lights out in under 30 seconds with a vicious knee down the middle. I think Cory Sandhagen wins that knockout of the year comfortably. As it stands, we're only not even halfway through 2021. We have a lot of months to go, and we could see potentially the greatest knockout in UFC history. We've got a long road to go yet, but as it stands right now, halfway through, my knockout of the year would be Cory Sandhagen.
Yeah, we saw Conor calling a shot to Sean Ennick saying he wants to get that knockout of the year, but when you're talking about spinning back elbows, it's very hard to compete in that area. That's a video game move almost, you know. We only see guys like Tony Ferguson throw moves like that. A lot of people were making comparisons between Tony and Jiří, and I believe they are warranted. Jiří Procházka has a very unique style. I don't think anybody really fights like him. He throws everything into what he throws, and his cardio looked fairly impressive for his output. You see right there, 76 strikes, wasn't even breathing heavy. And we saw him actually take things to the ground. He was rocked against Dominic Reyes. And what does Reyes do? He jumps onto a guillotine and gets himself on his back. So that really was a bad move for Dominic Reyes. I actually thought the fight was over when I saw that guillotine, but he was able to slip out and land big shots. And eventually they got to the feet, and he landed that insane spinning back elbow with 30 seconds left in the second round. And that's about as spectacular as it gets. So spectacular that Dana White says the title shot is next for Jiří Procházka. Do you think he has earned it in only his second UFC fight?
No. I don't believe that should be next. Obviously, Glover gets that shot first. That is, set to go down at UFC 265 or 66, I believe.
266, yes, in September.
266, yeah, September. A long time away. Jiří just had not Jiří. Jan just had a brilliant fight against Israel Adesanya, so he took some time off. Glover waits for his shot, got that shot, and finally goes down in September. But I think it should be while Jan and Glover are fighting. I would probably want to see Jiří versus Rakic for the number one contender fight. They have a lot of time left to kind of make that fight for him to fight. I think that's the only fight to make at this point. I think it's Jiří Procházka versus Alexander Rakic for the number one contender fight. Whoever wins that gets the next shot at the title.
I couldn't agree more. September's a long way to go, and I honestly don't want to see a guy that exciting like Jiří Procházka, a guy who's just 28, just sit on the sidelines like that. I think the UFC should book Jiří Procházka against Alexander Rakic the week after or before in a 5-round fight night main event, because Rakic has a lot of momentum on his side, but the guy has never fought a 5-round fight, and I believe he needs to prove himself there. And also, he could definitely be a tough matchup for Jiří, because we actually saw Reyes take down Jiří in the first round and get some decent control time. So we know Rakic doesn't mind a little bit of control time if you watched a couple of his past fights. So that would be a very fun matchup. And of course, if Glover Jan gets out of that fight, we could see one of those guys slide right in. So makes a lot of sense to me. And Jiří Procházka is definitely the future of the division. We've seen a lot of older fighters hang around this division, and the guy's just 28 with over 30 fights. This guy's very impressive. Do you think Jiří's a future champion?
That's the important question they're here to really talk about today. Is Jiří Procházka a future champion? But with Jan Blachowicz in division, I just don't. I think Jan Blachowicz really rules this division at the moment. I don't really see anyone in the 205-pound division that really beats Jan Blachowicz at the moment. I think he's looking incredible. He just probably beat one of the best UFC fighters that we've had in recent years, in Israel Adesanya. This guy is a revelation. This guy has picked up wins against some of the best names in the history of MMA. He picked up wins against Anderson Silva. Yes, it was an old Anderson Silva, but he still beat Anderson Silva. He beat Paulo Costa. He beat Robert Whittaker. He beat Yoel Romero. And then Jan, put a stop to that, took the hype, and I think it was a great performance from Jan that night. He out-kickboxed a phenomenal kickboxer in Israel Adesanya. It was an incredible performance from Jan, and it was it was so baffling to me to watch, because I really thought Israel Adesanya would win that fight, and I thought he'd win it fairly comfortably. And when I saw Jan Blachowicz, put on a great fight, win the rounds, out kickbox him, I was like, wow, I need to stop doubting Jan Blachowicz. And I think if Jan Blachowicz and Prochazka come up against each other, I think Jan Blachowicz wins it. Even Rakic, I think Jan beats Rakic. I think Jan at the moment is just on a whole different wavelength compared to these other guys in the division right now. But if Jan, he's talked about stepping up to heavyweight, Jan Blachowicz. So if Jan does go up to heavyweight, I think Prochazka has a chance to rule the division. But then you do have the likes of, Rakic. Can he get past Rakic? Maybe Johnny Walker down the line if he puts on a great run of fights. But let me mention, imagine a fight between Jiří Procházka versus Johnny Walker down the line.
There would be no scenario where that one goes to the judges. I would be shocked beyond my mind if that one would go to the judges. That would be a guaranteed finish. We would see a ton of action, and that wouldn't get out of the second round. If you know Jiří Procházka, the guy has 23 first-round finishes on his record. Doesn't get more impressive than that, so that would be a very high-action, high-paced fight, and that is definitely on my wish list someday. But talking about Johnny Walker, I think Johnny Walker is just a knockoff version of Jiří Procházka in a way. A lot of people are saying Johnny Walker has that wild style. He can knock you out at any time, and especially early. Jiří Procházka is what a lot of people thought Johnny Walker was going to be. Everybody thought Johnny Walker was ready to fight John Jones after he got that big knockout in March of 2019. And they were definitely wrong, because we saw Corey Anderson completely smash him in the first round. So Jiří Procházka definitely can be what a lot of people thought Johnny Walker was going to be, in my opinion.
Exactly, a great way of putting it. He's literally like the second coming of Johnny Walker, but just maybe that touch a little bit better. What I think it is, I think the durability of Prochazka really surprised me. This guy can take some heavy shots, and he's been saying that in the post-card press conferences that he's working on that defense. He doesn't want to get hit, which is understandable, but he's working on getting hit less and firing back. But this guy is very durable. Took a lot of shots. Takes a lot of shots against Volkan Oezdemir, and then took a few against Dominic Reyes. But he's still standing. This guy's got a good chin on him, even though he has been knocked out in the past. But he's showing a good chin. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Definitely Rakic versus Prochazka is the move I would move next.
And for Dominic Reyes, I don't think he should be making any moves within the next 6 months. That was a brutal knockout. You have to feel for the guy. He's lost 3 in a row now, and he was undefeated heading into the John Jones fight. So I think they should stay out of the top 5 for his next matchup. I don't even want to matchmake for the guy right now, because that was a gnarly knockout, a face-down knockout. That's just not – that's very violent, You got to take some time to recover from that. And I still believe in Dominic Reyes. I still believe he's a very excellent fighter. But Jiří Procházka was simply just too active, too dangerous that night, and just a bad matchup overall. And I kind of feel dumb picking Dominic Reyes in the end. Somebody who I don't feel dumb about picking about is Giga Chikadze. What did I tell you guys? This guy's a former Glory kickboxer. He's one of the best strikers in all of the UFC. And a guy like Cub Swanson, who was probably looking to take it to the ground, he didn't even get to execute any of his game plan. As you saw, he just landed 4 strikes. And it just took one Giga kick, and it was a wrap. I believe it was about, was it a minute?
Minute and 3 seconds.
Yeah, really great performance by Giga. He's done that same kick countless times, and I believe Swanson probably knew it was coming at some point, but it didn't matter. He set because Giga set it up so well. He's probably set himself up for a big fight now. He's on a big winning streak now. He called out Max Holloway. Of course, that fight
And
is
yeah,
probably on
yeah.
the. Yeah, I believe the fight that makes the most sense right now has got to be Yair. Yair's been very inactive, so I think he should prove himself a guy who has been very active, a guy who got 4 wins in 2020. So I think that makes a ton of sense, and it'd be a really fun striking battle. What do you think about Giga, and do you believe the Yair fight should be next?
This guy, man, Giga is on a whole different level at the moment. This guy is probably one of the most exciting prospects that we have inside the UFC at the moment. As you mentioned, a former Glory kickboxer, put on an absolute masterclass against Swanson. Only in there for a minute. And if this doesn't show how badass Giga is, he offered to step in at short notice to fight Cowboy Cerrone. Is this weekend at welterweight?
Yeah. I don't know.
Incredible. This guy is.
Yeah, I don't know how much he walks around it. I don't know how much he walks around at, but he's very tall for this division. And just 10 pounds lighter, you got a guy who's short and stocky like a Marab. So this guy cuts a ton of weight, which is why it's concerning for him if he does fight a 5-round fight, because he actually admitted that he would probably gas in the 3rd round against Jamie Simmons because the weight cut takes a lot out of him. So maybe he could move up one day because you just said right there he's offering to fight Cowboy welterweight. So I believe there's a very bright future for Giga, especially once his ground game becomes very polished, because right now that is a weakness that can be exploited.
Yeah, that's the one thing we haven't seen really been tested, inside the UFC. But yeah, it's a great prospect. I look forward to see what's next for him. You mentioned the Yair Rodriguez fight. You would like that next. I was thinking maybe not just, Yair is a top 5 fighter. Yes, that Korean zombie fight, he got pushed to the distance, got it done though. But he looked good against Stevens. He has been out a while, but I was thinking more of an entertaining fight. And I was thinking, who would I love to see a Giga inside there with? And I was thinking the winner of Burgos versus Edson Barboza. I think that would be an incredible fight. And even if that doesn't happen, I was even thinking, what's his name? What's his first name? Emmett. I forgot his first name.
Josh Emmett versus Giga
Chikadze. That's an incredible fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, Josh Emmett's ACL got torn really bad in the fight with Shane Burgos, and I saw in an interview that he's likely not to return until late 2021 or early 2022. So, a guy that's very active like Giga, I don't think that's a possibility right now. But Calvin Kattar is. Calvin Kattar is.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Calvin Kattar versus Giga. That could definitely headline a fight night in my eyes.
100%. As long as we don't have a matchup like Bryce Mitchell, which would probably be a really bad matchup for Giga because it's a complete opposite of styles matchup right there. So I don't know what's next for Giga. It should be Yair. Yair said he'll fight anybody, and preferably in July. We know Zabit's out of this featherweight picture right now. Possibly think about retiring. Giga can definitely slide into that top 5 with a win over Yair. Let's move on here. We had a draw between Iwan Cutelaba and Dustin Jacoby. I picked 4 underdogs to get it done last week, and Dustin Jacoby was one of them. And if you saw my breakdown for this fight, you knew I did my homework. Iwan Cutelaba is toast after the first round. He barely can dish out damage, Dustin Jacoby, he's got a good engine on him. You saw the guy dish out the damage in the last 2 rounds. And Iwan Cutelaba, on the other hand, was very aggressive in the first round. Was it 9 takedowns in that first round? Very, very impressive in the first round. If he fought like that for 3 rounds, he would be champion. But that's simply not the case. Those elbows were very gnarly. I thought Jacoby was 100% going to get finished because I thought Cutelaba was gonna 100% beat him up in the first round, but Jacoby just took a lot of damage, and I don't think he was able to do enough to sway the judges.
Yeah, I agree with you. This fight was a great back and forth. As you mentioned, Kutalaba, he's more of a 1 round and a half kind of fighter guy. After that round, he's toast. He put everything into that first round to try and get Dustin Jacoby out of there, and it just doesn't work. And he paid the price for it. He put everything into it, and it kind of backfired, and he was toast. Dustin Jacoby lit him up in the second and the third round, but it didn't go his way. But as you mentioned, probably didn't do that enough to get that nod on the night. And it was an incredible fight. Great men, both men put their heart and soul on the line for our entertainment. But yeah, maybe a rematch is possibly on the cards.
Yeah, this matchup right here, I knew it was going to be high action, and it was going to guarantee violence. I told everybody in my household to sit around the TV for this one, and they were not disappointed when Kutalaba came out like a bat out of hell. And yeah, it would be fun, but I don't want to see it right now. I think Kutalaba, he really needs to prove that he can keep up the cardio. I don't know who should be next for him. Possibly the loser of the what's coming up in the middleweight division right now.
Middleweight.
Oh, it's led my mind. Tavares and Akhmedov, maybe the winner of that.
Middleweight.
Yeah. Oh, this is light heavyweight. Never mind. That complete. I don't know what happened right there, but a guy who definitely should fight Jacoby next is Jimmy Crute. I campaigned for that fight before, and I campaigned for it now. Jacoby has a really fun style with his glory kickboxing striking, and Jacoby got his leg kicked off. So it'd be interesting to see Jacoby chase those leg kicks, and we would see what Jimmy Crute has to offer in that. That'd be fun to see. Do you think that should be next for Jacoby?
Yeah, I would love that fight. Jacoby, is a great kickboxer, as you mentioned, and Jimmy Crute is an up and comer. Just lost to Smith, but he showed his heart in that fight, his durability, his warrior spirit. But unfortunately, the doctor said no. But yeah, that's a great fight, a good rebound fight for Jimmy Crute. I'm not saying he's a rebound fight as he's going to win. It's still a very, very tough test for him. That's what it is. But Jimmy Crute gets if he does fight him, it's a great fight to get back into the mix. And Dustin Jacoby, man, since he's returned to the UFC, he's looked incredible and more impressive. Every fight goes on. But I'd like to see that match. As for Iron Kutalaba, he's in a weird predicament at the moment. This guy was in the rankings, looked on top of the world, had a great performance against Khalil Roundtree. But he's as of late, he has 2 setbacks with Magomed Ankalaev, and now the draw against Dustin Jacoby. What probably, if I'm on Kutalaba, that probably feels like a loss in my eyes. So he's probably thinking he's on a 3-fight losing streak. So it's probably a must win in his next fight.
It is, and that fight should be against the winner of Jamal Hill and Paul Craig coming up. That matchup right there makes a lot of sense, if you ask me. Those guys have always been right outside the top 10, and the winner of that could possibly get a shot at the top 10, maybe. Jamal Hill, he's very young in his career, even though he beat a vet like OSP. Kutalaba has fought a ton of guys in this division, including the future title challenger Glover Teixeira. So makes a lot of sense to me. Something else that also makes a lot of sense to me is Sean Strickland against Uriah Hall, because Sean Strickland looked top 10 worthy last weekend. He looked unbelievable. His striking was on point. He was very confident. You saw the guy walking forward nearly the entire fight. And I don't think he really respected Jocko, because he was just walking forward, very unbothered look. And when you see guys unbothered in the octagon, it's a pretty scary thought, because a lot of guys come in there very anxious, and Strickland is not one of those guys. I only have a higher opinion of him now, and I think he could give fits to Uriah Hall in the feet.
Yeah, that's a great match. matchup, Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland. But I was thinking more of the line, maybe Sean Strickland versus Kevin Holland. That's definitely a fight I would love to see. But Holland's talking about moving down to 170, so I'm not too sure if that would work. But that's a fight that would be incredible. The way them two like to talk inside the cage. It would be a very, very good fight, and it would be entertaining. But Sean Strickland last week looked incredible against Jocko, put in an amazing performance. His striking accuracy is incredible, and as you mentioned, his body language in the whole fight, he didn't really respect Jocko. He looked like he wasn't very worried that what was coming towards him. It just that's what Jocko needed. It was just to hurt Strickland in the fight, for him to kind of really say, oh, hold on, I need to be worried what's coming my way. But there was never a moment in that fight where Sean Strickland looked really worried in any position. As you see there, 84 strikes at 182 landed total strikes, and 37 out of 196 for Jocko. That just shows the head movement, the basics, the fundamentals of Sean Strickland is incredible. His head movement, his 1-2s down the middle, his hooks, his footwork, his boxing, and obviously his kickboxing as well. He gets his legs into work as well. Everything is incredible, and everything is incredible. He does everything basic. He does it incredibly. And I'm very excited to see where he goes next. I would entertain either Kevin Holland or, as you mentioned, Uriah Hall. Them two definitely make sense. Now he's in the rankings. It definitely makes sense.
It 100% makes sense. Uriah Hall, of course, he's going to have a quick turnaround because he absorbed no damage whatsoever in the Chris Weidman fight. So that's why I suggested that matchup. Strickland, he's top 10 worthy, as I said. And I see the writing on the wall here. This guy will be a mainstay in the top 10 when he gets there. His striking is really good. And we haven't really, besides the Usman fight, he really doesn't get ragdolled like that. The fights with Ponzinibbio and with Dos Santos, Zaleski Dos Santos, he got outstruck, of course, but those guys are absolute beasts. I had a lot of doubts about the guy moving up at 185 after he struggled a little at 170 for his stay in the UFC, and now I have no doubts he's not undersized really, and he's gonna come forward against just about anybody. So that's a really good trait to have in the UFC.
We're talking about pressure and coming forward. That name, Merab Dvalishvili, just is written all over him. This guy is constant pressure. His cardio is second to none. I think that's one of the what word am I looking for? The cardio freak. I should probably call him. This guy just keeps on coming. He's in your face every single moment of the fight. He threw 306 strikes against Cody Stamann. It's incredible the pace he puts on in every single fight. He looked incredible versus Cody Stamann. 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. But yeah, 1 minute 42 control time, 5 takedowns landed. One of Cody Stamann was on his own, but now he improves. I think he might be on a 5-fight win streak in the top 10. He probably might get a top 5 after this fight. He's looking good. He's looking very, very good. And he put on a fantastic performance versus Cody Stamann. I was very impressed with him. In the future, maybe I would probably match him up next with Marlon Moraes. I think that's a good fight. Makes a lot of sense. And that's at the moment the top bantamweights are kind of booked at the moment, but Marlon Moraes is free.
I could not agree more. I was about to throw that out there. Marlon Moraes is a former World Series of Fighting champion, and he used to be a beast. Now, in his last couple of fights, I don't know what's going on with him. He seems to not be that durable, and his cardio has let him down over and over again. So, honestly, that would be a really bad matchup for Marlon. But you just got to book those fights, man. You got to see what Merab would do against a guy who fought Cejudo for the vacant belt. And at the time, I actually thought Marlon was the number 1 bantamweight in the world. Now, I don't think so. And Merab is on his way to being there, to be honest. He's really good. His striking has improved a ton. We saw him get struck in the Frankie Cyan's fight early on. Of course, I don't think he lost that fight, but that's what convinced the judges that night. And Cody Stamen actually got more control time than Merab. But what did Merab do in that time? He landed every strike he could off of his back, and he was very active. He was fighting him the entire time. And this was just a high-level fight. You could tell both these guys were in their peak shape. They were really performing well. Stamen had a good performance, and he still lost. That's how good Merab is.
Exactly, a great way of putting it. If you have a great performance against Merab, you can still possibly lose because Merab is just that good. This was a high-level fight between some high-level fighters. Definitely, Cody Stamen should keep his head held high. It will definitely come back from this, get a few wins on the bounce, and he could be straight back up there. Yeah, top of the division. He's definitely not left. He's definitely still there, circling with the best in the world. But Merab, stamps his mark on this fight. Yeah, stands his ground. Yeah, stands his mark on the division, and then moves up. I definitely would like to see Merab versus Marlon Moraes. I think that one definitely next makes sense. But yeah, Marlon Moraes and Merab. Dvalishvili is looking like a real killer, looking like a really maybe a future title challenger, maybe a future champion. If you look at the bantamweight champion at the moment, Peter Yan, imagine a fight between Peter Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili. I'm saying the champion Peter Yan, but we know it's Aljo. But when they rematch, we kind of know how that one's going to go away.
Yeah, Merab now has the biggest win streak in the division besides his buddy Aljamain Sterling. So we already know that Merab would never fight Aljamain. In fact, Merab said he'd rather go to flyweight than fight Aljamain. That shows you just how strong their bond is. And Merab has a bright future this division. And with a win over Mullen, he would get himself in the position he needs to be to main event and possibly start contending for a title shot. And we know Merab in a 5-round setting is ideal. And something that was not ideal was the debut of Luana Pinheiro against the skidding Randa Marcos. Luana looked excellent. She was throwing her around with her judo ability, and Randa Marcos was struggling early on, and Randa Marcos got fouled by her with an eye poke, I believe it was. Randa Marcos did not quit, but Luana Pinheiro, when she got hit with an up kick, she did not react well at all. Originally, I thought she was just rocked, but later you could see that she was clearly dazed. Randa Marcos thinks she was overselling it. We saw her carried out to the stretchers in the back. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here. It was a bit of a strange reaction, but I do believe she took a nasty shot there. And besides that, I honestly think she was on her way to winning this fight. Even though I picked Randa Marcos, she looked excellent. She was outstriking her. She was taking her down at will. Wrestling like Randa Marcos, getting taken down like that, that's probably a sign that she was going to lose the fight because that was her path to victory. So I kind of consider this a win for Luana Pinheiro. And even though Marcos has a really ugly record, I believe it's 10-12 now. Yeah, that's tough. I think she should probably be given another chance because this was just not what needed to happen here. Very unfortunate. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Luana looked good. Put on the pressure up, get the 5 takedowns. 5 out of 6 takedowns in round 1. Looking good. Then, I poked Randa Marcos. She didn't really make a big deal of it. Continued fighting. And Luana took that up kick. And, it kind of, took the way out of the fight. But I think the way it was going, I think Luana was going to win. The pace she was setting, I haven't really seen her cardio, but she probably would have slowed down in round 2 or 3. At the end of round 2 or 3, maybe Randa Marcos might have got some success, but I do believe Luana would have won this fight. The way it was going, I think she looked good. As you mentioned there, Randa Marcos' path to victory was the wrestling, and Luana has beaten her to every position.
Yeah, for those saying that Luana was looking for a way out, I believe that's completely nonsensical. Pinheiro looked amazing. And and that was just very unfortunate. The rest of the prelims were very decision heavy. More decisions than we're used to getting in this Apex cage. You remember early on, people were saying, "Oh, the Apex cage guarantees finishes," and that was not the case here. But we still got some bangers on this card. I know you just talked to TJ Brown. That will be up on this YouTube channel a little later. TJ Brown looked awesome. Let's talk about his fight with Kakamaka.
Yeah, talk about interviews. We have Phil Hawes coming up this weekend, who's fighting this weekend. So that will be coming out this week. We also have another one, but I can't think off the top of my head. But it might be TJ Brown, but I thought I had one more. I'm not too sure. But yeah, talk to TJ Brown. We exchanged words. Albert Morales, that's it. He's fighting Patchy Mix.
Yes,
coming up. So we'll release that one before he fights. But yeah, TJ Brown had some words about the Eric Nikshik trying to appeal that fight to get it to a no contest. In my opinion, that doesn't really make much sense because look at how many close fights we've had under the UFC. You've never ever seen a manager of them fight or go to the commission and be like, "Hey, we won that fight. Let's turn it to a no contest." It doesn't really happen. I don't think it will get overturned. If it does, it'll be a travesty. Yes, it was a close fight. Yes, it could have been controversial, but that's how the fight game rolls. And TJ got the nod. What are your opinions? Do you think it was controversial?
When I was watching this fight, I was thinking what a lot of people were thinking. I was thinking I would hate to be a judge right now because all I want to do is watch this fight and have fun and not score it. And that's what I did, really. I can't tell you with a straight face that I thought either guy won here because we thought Kakamaka would have a slight power edge here, and Brown had some impressive striking here, considering I thought he was going to get it done by submission. On the show, I said Kakamaka by decision, but I changed my mind later after seeing Kamaka give up his back so easily against Jonathan Pierce. Brown, his striking has improved under James Krause. That training camp right there is full of guys with a ton of heart, and Brown showed a ton of heart. Even though he hurt Kamaka had them on wobbly legs on multiple occasions, and this was a guaranteed fight of the night when I was watching it. But that main event was a cracker as well. So I don't know what you do there. Maybe a double fight of the night would have been appropriate, but Kamaka has nothing to be ashamed about here. He fought his heart out as well. That's all you can ask of these guys, and very, very fun to watch. And this would be the kind of fight that you could possibly set up a rematch at some point because there was a lot of discussion around the judging afterwards.
Let them fight every week.
Yeah, for all I care. Yeah, these guys will put on a show every time. And I thought this would be like a grappling approach from TJ Brown. That was not the case, and it was a lot of damage being dealt out on the feet. So that's the kind of fight I like to watch.
A fantastic fight from both men. Came into the fight, put their heart and soul into this fight, and TJ Brown edging the judges' scorecards. A lot of people took to Twitter, a lot of people took to social media, so to put their comments and their opinions about this fight. But at the end of the day, TJ Brown, got his hand raised. Yes, it was a close fight. Yes, it could have gone either way, but it went TJ Brown's way, and we can't really complain. The judges, this is what they get paid for. Sometimes we don't like their decisions, but they are the men, the women that make these decisions.
Absolutely. And that was a tough fight to score, so I'm not going to be sitting around moping about that judge's decision. Another decision that was a little suspect was Luana Carolina is Paulian Botelho. It went to the right person, of course, but it was a split decision. I honestly didn't see that at all. Of course, Pauliana had an excellent first round. It was a minus 2,000 for her in Vegas after the first round. And I thought Luana was going to lay an egg here. After she missed weight, she was one of the last people to go to the scales. So I thought, Carolina's done here. That was not the case. She probably had a weight advantage in there, and that really suited her. in rounds 2 and 3. She got the job done. She took it to the ground, and on the feet, she was also doing better in rounds 2 and 3. Do you think Pollyanna might need to work on that cardio there?
Yeah, exactly 100% what you're saying there. She needs to work on that cardio because in round 1 she looked great. She looked in control, looked the better fighter. But it was just the third round she slowed down. Luana Carolina started to take over, land the shots. 100 strikes, 130 strikes landed. That's incredible accuracy from Luana Carolina. If you look at it that way, 5 minutes and 28 seconds of control time too. So yeah, it was a very good close fight. Poliano had that success in the first round. If her cardio was the better, we could have seen a different story. She could have got the nod that night. But this is a learning curve for her. She'll go back, watch this fight multiple times, work on that, see where she went wrong, and she'll come back. But Luana, as you mentioned there, had that weight advantage. Could have been, defining factor. One of the last women or fighter to come onto the scale, missed weight, but she got the nod this night. It went to the correct person. The split decision, yes, that did confuse me as well. But yeah, round 2 to 3, definitely went to Luana Carolina, and Pollyanna got that round 1. She looked good in that round 1. If she improves that cardio, she could be like a really good fighter.
I agree. Somebody who could also be a really good fighter if they improve their ground game by a mile is Lomaluk Bunmi. We know on the feet she's going to be a tough matchup for a lot of girls in this division, and she was very tough for Sam Hughes. But props to Sam Hughes. We saw her not quit at all, and actually she won the third round on all 3 judges' scorecards. And I agree with the judges there. She was very aggressive, but unfortunately her style might not be the best. For the UFC, basically the way she wins is by coming forward and pushing you up against the fence, kind of like Usman's approach against Masvidal, and that's really not going to sell any tickets there. So she could get cut after this because we really haven't seen that much out of her yet. Loma on the other side was looking really good in these early rounds. Whenever it got to the clinch, we saw a clear advantage in the striking there. Of course, when you got maybe 100 fights in Muay Thai, fighting every week in Thailand, you're going to look excellent on the feet. What do you think about Loma striking here against a very determined St. Hughes?
Yeah, and Luma Bunmi, her striking is incredible. We already know that her Muay Thai, her clinch work is second to none. She doesn't really need to improve in that area. She's had 100+ Muay Thai fights. She doesn't need to do any work on that area. That's her bread and butter. That's what she's used to. But it's the ground game. It's her takedown defense, her ground game, her grappling offense and grappling defense needs to be worked on a little bit. And if she works on that, she could become a phenomenal fighter. She could be a top 5 easily. One thing, having that said, I do believe she doesn't even look like a straw weight, in my opinion. I feel like she looks like an atom weight.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's why Dana White is actually talking about bringing in a atomweight division for the UFC. That would be very exciting. So. That would be the smallest division of the UFC, but there's girls like Loma Lookboonmee and maybe Jin Frey. Maybe Michelle Watterson. There's Tisha Torres, a lot of former atomweights that came over from Invicta. And of course you got Invicta. They got a bunch of atomweights over there. Laura Sanko even said she would return for one fight if they open up that atomweight division. So that'd be really fun to see. And a Laura Sanko Loma Lookboonmee fight, that'd be interesting. I don't know if Laura Sanko would have a chance, but why not? If the UFC is short on talent like they are with the featherweight division, they probably shouldn't put it together. But of course, you got a bunch of atomweights in Invicta that they can sign. So why not do it? Loma Lookboonmee would be my pick to be champion, of course. And let's transition to this other fight of the evening. This was very, very fun to watch because I was like really shocked that KB. Oh yeah, Sanders and Kalaris was the first fight of the night, And let's talk about that one. That was really awesome. Um, oh, move. Yep. Luke Sanders put an absolute beating on Felipe Colares in round one. This was exactly how I thought it would go, but I thought it was going to be a little easier for my guy Colares. I told you guys, bet the underdog here. Colares is the guy. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I thought he would submit Luke Sanders, but of course he didn't have any gas tank to do anything left in his gas tank to do it after the first round. Luke Sanders punished him in that first round. I thought it was going to get stopped. He was getting hit with everything and the kitchen sink. And Colares stood there, and he's one of the toughest guys in this entire UFC roster. I don't know how he's still standing. And he takes damage quite well, you know. Later on, he was the one dishing the damage, and he actually got a unanimous decision here. And Luke Sanders, he's another guy that needs to work on that cardio because he's really good for one round, but after that, it gets a little shady for him in the octagon. And Colares was able to have more left in the gas tank and get some takedowns and nearly stop the fight. Of course, a guy like Chris Tagnoni, that guy is not going to stop the fight until he sees some serious damage. So we didn't see it get stopped there. What do you think about Felipe Colares here?
Yeah, Felipe. Other than that first round, he looked great. His cardio looked good. His striking. I love his like karate stance, like karate slash dance. I think that looks really good. It suits him very well. His strikes are very good, smooth, crisp. Other than that first round, as we mentioned, where it looked like he was going to get stopped, he looked good. I think Luke Sanders, if he improved on that cardio, this again could be a decision that we could have seen gone the other way. If he had that cardio enough for 3 rounds, Luke Sanders could have probably easy, maybe had his way in this fight. We seen that in the first round. He had his way, knocked him down and almost finished the fight, and it was close to getting stopped. But Felipe had more left in the tank, battled back throughout adversity. His durability looked great. Even that's not a trait, but his durability, man, he took a lot of shots in this fight against Luke Sanders, who's he's known for his power. And Felipe came back, bit on the gum shield, and fought back in round number 2 and 3 and got the win. The toughness, the grit, the determination for Felipe Corrales, really impressed me in this fight. And I'm excited to see where he goes in the future. Maybe not match him up in the next fight against another power puncher. He took a lot of beating in the first round.
Yeah, I picked him because he was able to survive a ton of flurries from Martel Jackson. And when you can take punches from Martel Jackson, you can probably take punches from anybody at 145 or 35 pounds. A guy who really didn't throw anything with bad intentions on this night was KB Buller. Let's wrap it up with this one, guys. We try to keep these episodes at about 45 minutes, and we're right at that mark. This one was very uneventful, really, because KB Buller was, quite frankly, he was sparring in there, was he not?
Yeah, he never really threw any strikes with intention. Any intention, I know this sounds a little bit bad, intention to hurt his opponent. You're in there, you're having a fight. You got to throw some fireworks. You've got to have that bad intentions in your head. I'm going to throw this left hand. I'm going to want to knock you out. But I just didn't really see that in KB Buller's approach. It was just more of a relaxed, laid back approach. But he just never looked like he really wanted to hurt his opponent. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but when you're in a fight, you've got to hurt your opponent to get the win.
Yeah, somebody who did want to hurt him was Mihalaitis. We saw the guy come forward. He threw some spinning attacks. He was trying to reach that chin, but KB was not engaging. He was not engaging. All he was throwing was some little high kicks to his leg. And Mihalaitis is very pale, guys. So of course you saw the damage that KB was able to do, but it was nothing significant at all. This was shameful, to be honest, on the KB part. I don't think he's cut out for the UFC right now. Maybe give another chance at some other point, but when you have 2 really poor performances like that, it's probably over for you in the UFC. And Michailidis, he was throwing everything out there. Props to him, but he didn't look that excellent either. It was just not a fun fight to watch, to be honest. Not something I like to watch. And KB, I don't know what he needs to work on. Maybe a little bit of aggression. You can tell he's not a mean fighter at all, and that's probably not the guy that Dana wants to see fighting the octagon.
Yeah, perfect way of putting it. This really wraps up our reaction, our recap to the fights. Recently, Rodriguez versus Waterson, that had been announced for this weekend. That's the main event this weekend. A very short notice one after TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen. Oh my God, that was the fight I was looking forward to. Unfortunately, fell through. That was going to be a firework. I was so interested to see how TJ Dillashaw looked throughout the time off, and I'm very excited to see that fight eventually go down the road. But the fight night we have this weekend: Rodriguez versus Waterson, Donald Cerrone versus Alex Morono, Neil Magny returns against Jeff Neal, Maurice Green versus Marcus Rodrigo de Lima, Diego Ferreira versus Gregor Gillespie, Amanda Ribas versus Angela Hill, Ben Rothwell returns, Phil Hawes that I talked to over the week, returns against Carl Dorcas. Some great fights, some fights that you might sleep on. But nonetheless, I'm excited to see the fights go down. Make sure you tune in on Thursday to catch the reaction. Are you excited for this fight this weekend?
Yeah, a lot of people are talking trash about this card because we did see the co and main event fade because Diego Sanchez, of course, got released, and we saw TJ Dillashaw get that cut right above his eye. He's got a lot of scar tissue. That'll get rebooked for July. But it's actually really good. Neil Magny and Jeff Neal, Neil on Neil, as some people like to call it. That's going to be really fun. And there's a lot of fun fights on here. Gregor Gillespie and Diego Ferreira, that's about as high level as it gets in the lightweight division. And Ribas and Angela Hill, get ready to hear my preview about that one because it's going to be quite interesting. A lot of people are looking at it from a different perspective than me because Ribas, quite frankly, she got exposed in her last one. I'll elaborate more this Thursday.
Exactly, a great way of putting it. He will, Oscar Silva will elaborate more this Thursday. So if you want to hear what he has to say, tune on at MMAUnhinged YouTube channel Thursday, roughly around 9 p.m. UK time. But yeah, till next time, me and Oscar, a very goodbye, and we'll catch you next time.